I have this coin machine, likely from the 2000s. It has a key-like object, and when I remove it, a display says Pronto, which is Italian for ready. I can't figure out if it's a coin sorter or a money changer. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a commercial-grade coin sorter. Machines like this were common in banks, retail businesses, and vending machine companies for counting large volumes of coins efficiently. The key is a security or operational interlock. Removing it completes a circuit and puts the machine in a ready state, which is why it displays Pronto. The mechanism inside is typically mechanical. Unsorted coins are fed into a hopper, where a rotating disc picks them up individually. The coins are then sent down a sloped track with precisely sized holes. Smaller coins, like dimes, fall through the first holes, while larger coins continue until they reach their corresponding slot, effectively sorting them by denomination into separate bins. I found this small pen-shaped object, and I'm not sure what it does. One side has a small brush next to a fine metal point that looks like a pen nib. The other side is capped with a soft, fuzzy cylinder, almost like an eraser. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a multi-tool for cleaning wireless earbuds. Each part serves a specific function. The pointed metal tip is used to carefully scrape out hardened wax and debris from the small speaker grills and tight seams of the earbud itself. Next, the small, high-density brush sweeps away all the loosened particles. Finally, the soft, flocking sponge on the other end is designed to clean the inside of the charging case, particularly the deep charging wells where dust and lint accumulate. I found this white crystalline substance growing on my basement wall. The wall itself doesn't feel cold or wet, and the room isn't humid. It looks a bit like salt and crumbles easily. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as an efflorescence. It's not mold, but rather a deposit of mineral salts. The process starts when water seeps into porous building materials like concrete or brick. This water dissolves the natural salts contained within the material. As the water migrates to the surface and evaporates into the air, it leaves the dissolved salts behind, forming the white, powdery deposit you see. While the surface may feel dry, efflorescence is a definite indicator that moisture is traveling through the wall from another source, like groundwater. My partner works as a liquidator and found this in a box from an estate sale. It's made of plastic and metal, with a curved section that seems designed to rest on a person's body and a flat platform on top. We have no idea what it could be used for. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a shoulder mount camera support, or a shoulder rig. It's a piece of videography equipment designed to stabilize handheld shots. The curved portion rests on the camera operator's shoulder, and the camera itself is screwed onto the top platform. By creating more points of contact with the body, the rig distributes the camera's weight and significantly reduces the shaky, unstable motion often seen in purely handheld video. These became very popular with independent filmmakers using DSLR cameras for video in the early 2000s, as it provided a stable shooting platform without the high cost of a professional broadcast camera. I found this after a recent rain in San Diego. A white, crystal-like powder appeared along the south-facing wall of the house, right under the eaves. One section that was under a bucket formed a tall pile, but it's very delicate and can be easily swept or washed away. Does anyone know what it is? This is a common phenomenon known as efflorescence. The name comes from a French term meaning to flower out. It occurs when water penetrates porous building materials like brick, stucco, or concrete. This water dissolves the natural mineral salts that are locked inside the material. Later, as the surface dries, the water evaporates into the air, but it leaves the salt crystals behind, forming this powdery deposit. It is generally harmless and can be removed with a brush or water. I was out metal detecting when I found this. It's a small piece of glass with a starburst design, held in a metal band that extends up to form a handle, like a tiny basket. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a vintage ring or jewelry dish, most likely from the 1920s to the 1940s. The glass is known as uranium glass, a type of glassware colored with uranium dioxide that was popular from the 1880s until its production was largely halted during World War II. The starburst pattern was a common motif during the Art Deco era. These small decorative dishes, often with a silver-plated or chrome handle, were designed to sit on a dresser or nightstand to hold small personal items like rings. I found this brass valve on the second floor of a house in Ontario, which was built in 1908. It's mounted at shoulder height and is plumbed directly into the wall, where the pipe turns 90 degrees downward. I often work in homes from this period, but have never seen one of these before. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is not a valve, but part of a speaking tube system. This was a form of pre-electric intercom, common in large houses of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The brass fixture is a mouthpiece with a hinged cover. To get the attention of someone in another room, you would blow into the tube, causing a whistle to sound at the other end. Once they responded, you would open the cover and speak normally. Your voice would then travel acoustically through the pipework to its destination, typically from an upstairs room to a kitchen or servants area. These systems became obsolete with the wider adoption of electric intercoms and telephones. I was traveling through Georgia and saw something unusual. There were 5 or 6 airplanes in the sky at the same time, all moving together. In one of my photos, you can see one has a very long white stream behind it, while the others have much shorter ones. Does anyone know what is happening here? These are commercial airliners, and the trails they are leaving are not smoke. They are condensation trails or contrails. A contrail is essentially a man-made cloud that forms at high altitudes, typically above 26,000 feet, where the air temperature is below -40 degrees Celsius. The hot, humid exhaust from a jet engine rapidly mixes with this extremely cold air, causing the water vapor to instantly freeze into billions of tiny ice crystals, creating the visible line. The reason the trails have different lengths is due to varying atmospheric conditions. If the surrounding air is very humid, the ice crystals will persist for a long time, creating a long-lasting contrail. If the air is dry, the crystals will quickly turn back into vapor and disappear, resulting in a short or non-existent trail. The different planes were likely flying through pockets of air with different humidity levels. I bought this knitted item at a thrift store. At first, I thought it was a dress, but it's far too small and narrow at the bottom. I crochet sweaters as a hobby, so I know my way around yarn, but this has me stumped. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a mermaid tail blanket. These became a very popular novelty item and craft project around 2015. The design functions like a sleeping bag for your legs. A person slides their feet and legs into the main body of the blanket, which then tapers down into a fin shape. This design keeps the lower body warm while leaving the arms and torso free, making it perfect for lounging on a couch while reading or watching television. I found these bones scattered across my front lawn in the southeastern United States. The first bone is flat and somewhat triangular, shown here next to a kefir scale. The fourth picture shows a different, more complex bone. Does anyone know what kind of animal this belongs to? What you found are the bones from the head of a large, bony fish. Unlike mammals, fish skulls are made of many separate, loosely connected bones, which is why they often fall apart and scatter after the fish decomposes. The large, flat piece is likely an operculum, which is the protective flap that covers the gills. The other, more intricate bone is part of the neurocranium or pectoral girdle. The reason they were found on a lawn, potentially far from water, is likely due to a predator. Birds of prey like ospreys and eagles, or even mammals like raccoons, will often carry their catch to a safe place to eat, leaving the skeletal remains behind. I was going through my grandmother's belongings when I came across this ceramic object, but she doesn't know what it is either. It looks like a small vase with a very tiny hole at the top, too small for a flower stem. A ping pong paddle is next to it for size reference. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a ceramic oil lamp. The hollow body serves as a reservoir for lamp oil. A wick, typically made of cotton or another absorbent material, is threaded through the small opening at the top with one end submerged in the oil and the other end exposed. Through capillary action, the wick draws the fuel upwards. When the exposed tip is lit, the oil burns, producing a steady flame for light. This simple design is one of the oldest forms of artificial lighting in human history. I'm currently in the process of restoring my 1995 Mustang. While I was taking apart the interior, this small metal and paper object flew out at me. The car's original owner was in the Air Force and was stationed at Edwards Air Force Base. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a binder ID tag. It's a clever, low-tech solution for labeling loose-leaf notebooks. The mechanism is simple. The bent wire piece slides into the hollow channel at the very top of a binder's metal spine. This secures the tag, allowing the paper label, which would have the binder's contents typed on it, to rest on the outside. When placed on a shelf, the label would be clearly visible. Given the car's history, it almost certainly fell out of a military technical manual or logbook decades ago. I found this inside a freshly opened bag of sugar. It feels completely solid, just like a rock. I'm guessing it's a piece that never got properly ground up during processing, but I'm not sure if the rest of the bag is safe to use. Does anyone know what it is? This object is the result of humidity. You found a large clump of hardened sugar, not a foreign object. Sugar is a hygroscopic substance, meaning it actively attracts and absorbs water molecules from the air. If the sugar is exposed to moisture at any point during transport or storage, the surfaces of the crystals will slightly dissolve. When that moisture eventually evaporates, the dissolved sugar recrystallizes, creating a hard cement that binds thousands of granules together into a solid mass. The sugar is perfectly safe to use. You can simply break the clump apart. My friend has these interesting coins on their keychain. They look like old brass currency with a square hole in the middle, but they don't match any modern money I've ever seen. Does anyone know what it is? What you found are decorative charms, specifically replicas of old Chinese cash coins. This form of currency was first standardized under the Qin dynasty around 221 BC and was used for over 2,000 years. The design was highly symbolic. The round shape of the coin represented heaven, while the square hole in the center represented the earth. The hole also served a practical purpose, allowing the coins to be strung together for easier handling and accounting. Today, these replicas are commonly sold as good luck charms and used in feng shui to symbolize wealth and prosperity. I found this in a workshop in Welwyn, United Kingdom. It looks like a syringe, but there's a spike coming out of the end and the plunger doesn't pull a vacuum, which means it wouldn't work like a normal one. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a cartridge syringe, a design once common in both medical and veterinary fields. Your observation that it doesn't pull a vacuum is correct, because it's not designed to. This device uses pre-filled glass medication vials called cartridges, which have their own rubber plunger sealed inside. The cartridge is loaded into the barrel of the syringe, and the internal spike punctures its seal. When the handle is depressed, the spring-loaded rod pushes the plunger within the vial, forcing the medication out through a needle attached to the end of the cartridge. This system, sometimes known by brand names like Carpuject, ensured a sterile, pre-measured dose and was faster to use than drawing medicine from a bottle. I found this in a cupboard and it feels like it's a part of something larger. It's a small, triangular piece of aluminum with a notch cut into one corner. Both the notch and one of the flat sides have soft padding. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is one of two bracket stands for a one-for-all brand indoor television antenna. Specifically, it belongs to models like the SV9335 or the SV9395. These flat amplified antennas were designed for digital broadcasts. The two triangular stands could be attached to the main antenna body, allowing it to be stood upright on a shelf for better signal reception. The padding on the base prevented it from scratching furniture, while the notch likely helped secure the antenna panel. These parts are often misplaced when the main unit is packed away or discarded. A user noticed a slick liquid coming from the main control dial on their Whirlpool dryer. The substance was clearly running from the dial's housing and down the front panel, raising concerns about a potential internal failure. Does anyone know what it is? It turns out the problem wasn't with the dryer at all. The owner had a bottle of hand soap sitting on a shelf directly above the appliance. The soap bottle had developed a slow leak, which dripped perfectly onto the control dial. From there, the viscous liquid ran down the front of the machine, creating the illusion of an internal mechanical issue. This is a good reminder to always check the simplest explanation first. I have a small pin marked with the year 1986. I've tried searching for the character on it, but have come up completely empty. Does anyone out there recognize this guy? It's a promotional pin featuring the Noid, the advertising mascot for Domino's Pizza. The character was created in 1986 by Will Vinton Studios for a campaign with the slogan "Avoid the Noid." He was a physical manifestation of the challenges of getting a pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less. The campaign was immensely popular, spawning merchandise like this pin and even a computer game. Since they were promotional items from a specific time, they are now considered collectible pieces of 1980s advertising history. I always find old bottles thrown on the side of the road where I live. They're typically from common brands, but this one is different. It has a unique, almost teardrop shape that I don't recognize. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a vintage Michelob beer bottle. Michelob was introduced by Anheuser-Busch in 1896 as a premium, draft-only beer. It wasn't offered in bottles until 1961. To create a distinctive, high-end look, the company commissioned industrial designer Jerome Gould to create this specific teardrop shape. The design was so acclaimed it won an award from the Institute of Design in 1962. The bottle was expensive to produce and fill and was eventually phased out by 2002, though it occasionally returns for limited promotions. I love this style of sling or passport bag, but all the ones I get have this weird strip on the backside. It's a simple loop of fabric sewn down at the top and bottom. Is there a purpose for this, or is it just for decoration? Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a belt loop. Its purpose is to offer an alternative way to carry the bag. By threading your belt through this loop, you can wear the bag directly on your hip, similar to a fanny pack or a utility pouch. This provides two main advantages. It enhances security by keeping the bag tightly against your body, and it prevents the bag from swinging around during activities like hiking or cycling. It's a design feature that adds versatility, allowing the user to switch from a shoulder sling to a stable belt pouch. I found these in my garage in Central California. They are small, dark, and look like seeds or pellets clustered together. They feel hard and hollow. Does anyone know what it is? What you found are the empty casings of fly pupae. This is the third stage in the four-stage life cycle of a fly: egg, larva, pupa, and adult. After the larva, or maggot, has finished feeding, it moves to a dry, safe location. Its skin then hardens into a protective shell called a puparium. Inside this casing, the organism reorganizes its body structure, transforming into an adult fly. Once the metamorphosis is complete, the adult fly breaks out of the casing, leaving the empty shell behind. Finding a large cluster of these means there was likely a source of decaying organic matter nearby that the larvae consumed before transforming. One stunt. I have this cable and need to know what it's called. On one end, it's a standard USB plug, but the other end is a circular metal connector, and the section leading up to it is covered in green shrink wrap. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a USB to serial adapter cable designed for a specific piece of equipment. Modern computers communicate using the Universal Serial Bus Standard, but many industrial, networking, and scientific devices still use older serial protocols like RS-232 or RS-485. This cable acts as a translator. The bulky section under the green shrink wrap contains the adapter electronics that convert the USB signals into the serial format. The specific metal piece at the end is an Amphenol 12-8 connector, a rugged multi-pin plug used for securely connecting to specialized hardware for tasks like diagnostics or programming. I saw these in a restaurant restroom in Cochin, India, clipped to the side of the toilets. I was curious but didn't want to touch them to get a better look. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a commercial clip-on toilet air freshener. Unlike traditional blocks that are placed inside the bowl or tank, this design clips securely to the outside rim. This prevents the device from being accidentally flushed and makes it more sanitary for maintenance staff to replace. The plastic itself is infused with a strong fragrance that is slowly released over a period of about 30 days, neutralizing odors directly at the source. They are specifically designed for high-traffic public restrooms in places like restaurants and airports. I was driving my 2010 Toyota Camry this morning, and after a left turn, I heard a distinct metal ding sound from underneath the car. I immediately pulled over and found this in the middle of the road. It's clearly a piece of a heavy metal coil that has snapped off. The car drove home without any strange sounds, but I'm worried. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is the broken end of one of your car's coil springs. This is a critical component of your vehicle's suspension system. Each wheel has a coil spring, typically mounted around a shock absorber or strut, designed to compress and expand to absorb bumps in the road. This action keeps your tires firmly on the pavement and provides a stable, controlled ride. Over many years and miles, metal fatigue and corrosion from things like road salt can create a weak point, causing the spring to fracture under stress, often during a turn or when hitting a pothole. Driving with a broken spring is unsafe, as it can affect steering, cause uneven tire wear, and potentially lead to the broken piece puncturing your tire. It needs to be replaced by a mechanic. I was in Oaxaca eating shrimp tacos and found these small green balls mixed in. They were about 1 centimeter in diameter with a smooth, firm skin. When I bit into one, it popped and was surprisingly spicy. I thought they might be capers, but the texture and intense heat didn't match. Does anyone know what it is? It's a green peppercorn, specifically a pickled one. While most people are familiar with the hard, dried black peppercorns, these are the same fruit from the Piper nigrum plant, just harvested while still unripe. To preserve their color and texture, they are often packed in brine or vinegar. This pickling process is what keeps the skin smooth and creates the distinct pop when bitten. It also gives them a bright, fresh heat that's different from the more pungent flavor of dried black pepper. I'm in South Carolina and something is pulling apart my yarn. I found these torn pieces leading away from the main ball. It looks like an animal is stealing it, but for what purpose? Does anyone know what it is? This is a classic sign of mice. They are not eating the yarn for food. They are harvesting it as a building material. Mice seek out soft, pliable materials like yarn, string, and shredded paper to construct their nests. The fibers provide excellent insulation, creating a warm, protected space for their young, especially during colder months. The mouse will chew off small sections and carry them back to a hidden location, typically inside a wall, a cluttered corner, or an unused drawer. I found this small object on the floor in my house and have no idea what it is. It has a handle on one end and a long, textured metal rod. It looks like some kind of tool, but it's only a few inches long. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a mini sharpening steel, also commonly known as a honing rod. Its function is often misunderstood. It doesn't actually sharpen a blade by removing metal. Instead, it hones the edge. With regular use, a knife's sharp edge can develop microscopic folds and become misaligned. Sliding the blade along this hardened steel rod straightens and realigns that edge, restoring its cutting effectiveness. This smaller size is specifically intended for maintaining the blades of small knives like pocket knives or paring knives rather than large kitchen cutlery. I found these small metal pieces inside a box. At first I thought they were special fountain pen tips, but that doesn't seem correct, and a reverse image search didn't help. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a set of letterpress gauge pins and tongues. These are precision tools used in traditional printing to hold paper in the exact same position for every impression. They were commonly used on small tabletop machines like a Kelsey press for jobs like business cards. The clip part, which has sharp points, punctures the covering behind where the paper will be placed. The thin metal tongues then slide into the clip, creating a rigid guide. By placing each sheet of paper against these pins, the printer ensures perfect alignment and consistent results. This cardboard tube showed up on my deck, and I think it was brought over by a raccoon or an opossum that I've seen on my camera. It's been chewed on, and inside there's a gritty, plaster-like substance. My main worry was that it could be some kind of poison, especially since my cat was sniffing it. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is the remains of a consumer firecracker. The cardboard tube is the casing, and the gritty material you're seeing is not plaster, but clay. Manufacturers use a dense clay plug to seal one or both ends of the tube. When the fuse ignites the gunpowder inside, this plug helps contain the resulting pressure just long enough for the casing to rupture, which creates the loud bang. An animal likely found the spent firecracker and chewed on it out of simple curiosity. I'm on a long flight, and I notice this small plastic knob on the side of the seat in front of me. It's smooth and doesn't seem to twist or push in. It's far too small to be a handle. Does anyone know what it is? This is a retractable coat hook. These are a common feature on many airline and long-distance train seats. If you pull directly on the knob, a larger hook extends out from the seat. This allows a passenger to hang a coat or jacket using the fabric loop inside the collar, which prevents it from being crushed or wrinkled in an overhead compartment. For heavier items, flight attendants often have special hangers designed to clip directly onto this knob. I found this stuck inside my dryer, and I have never seen it before. It's just my girlfriend, myself, and our 2-year-old in the home. The object has a cloth-like material on the front and is very sticky on the back. Does anyone know what it is? It's a mosquito repellent patch, specifically one designed for children. These are small adhesive patches infused with natural oils like citronella or lemongrass. Instead of being applied to the skin like a spray, parents stick them onto a child's clothing, stroller, or hat. The oils slowly evaporate, creating a localized barrier that deters mosquitoes. It was almost certainly stuck to an article of clothing that was put through the laundry, and the adhesive backing caused it to cling to the inside of the dryer drum. I found this on the ceiling of a restaurant bathroom. It's a small metal object attached directly to the grid framework that holds up the tiles. It doesn't seem to be connected to anything. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a drop ceiling grid clip. Its function is to provide a secure mounting point for hanging objects from a suspended ceiling. The clip is designed to clamp tightly onto the T-bar, which is the metal frame that supports the ceiling tiles. The threaded bolt then allows for the attachment of items like light fixtures, speakers, or signs. This method is used because the ceiling tiles themselves are not strong enough to support any significant weight, so the clip transfers the load directly to the more stable metal grid. I was eating a bag of guacamole-flavored tortilla chips and found this weird hard object inside. It's about the size of a normal chip, but it's thick and dense. Does anyone know what it is? This object is a large compressed clump of seasoning. During the manufacturing process, chips are placed in a large rotating drum where seasoning powders are applied. Occasionally, moisture or oils can cause the powder to stick together, forming a small ball. As the drum continues to tumble, this ball picks up more and more layers of seasoning, eventually becoming a hard nugget. While it might look unusual, it is entirely composed of the same guacamole flavoring found on all the other chips in the bag. Someone on a neighborhood Facebook page posted this after seeing 3 unmarked police cars attach it to a telephone pole. It's a black box with a small antenna and no visible markings. Does anyone know what it is? This is a solar-powered remote surveillance camera, often housed in a protective steel case. These units are self-contained. The solar panel on top charges an internal battery, allowing the camera to operate for weeks or months without maintenance. The antenna is for a cellular connection, which allows law enforcement to remotely view the camera feed or receive alerts when its motion sensor is triggered. While originally developed for wildlife enthusiasts, these game cameras have been widely adopted by police departments for covert surveillance in areas with frequent illegal dumping, drug activity, or to monitor a specific property. The heavy-duty box is to prevent theft or vandalism of the unit. I received an Amazon package and noticed this unusual handwriting on the side of the box. I've never seen this on a package before and I can't identify the language. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a sorter's note, and the language is Chinese. The characters translate to 6 folding hooks. This is almost certainly a logistical note written by a worker in the fulfillment center. In massive warehouses, pickers and packers handle thousands of similar-looking boxes. To speed up identification and prevent errors during sorting, a worker will often write a quick description of the contents directly on the carton. This acts as a simple visual confirmation of the product inside, in this case, a set of 6 folding hooks. I went into a KFC in Charlotte, North Carolina, and was inside for less than 5 minutes. When I came back out to my car, I found a single shoe sitting on the hood. There was no one else around. Does anyone know what this means? This is a situation rooted more in urban folklore than object identification. While the most likely explanation is a random prank, the act of leaving a single shoe on a vehicle is often associated with various unsubstantiated theories. One of the most common is that it acts as a marker for local drug activity, signaling a location for sales or a dealer's territory. This concept is similar to the popular, but largely mythical belief about shoes thrown over power lines. Other speculations suggest it could be a sign to mark a vehicle for future theft. In reality, without a recurring pattern or other evidence, it's almost always a bizarre, isolated act with no specific meaning. This tool came from my deceased grandpa's collection. The pivot point bolt is stamped with the word Rockford. I thought it might be some kind of wire puller or nipper, but the jaws are only 3/16 of an inch wide, and I cannot find anything that looks like it. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a nail puller, but you're missing its most important component, the sliding handle. This tool works using a slide hammer mechanism. A heavy, cylindrical handle would have originally slid up and down the long shaft. To operate it, the user would place the jaws over an embedded nail and then slam the handle down. This impact would drive the jaws into the wood, tightly gripping the nail. The entire tool then acts as a lever to pull the nail out with significant force. Without the sliding ram, its primary function is completely hidden. A user spotted this unusual item while browsing real estate photos. Sitting on the floor in front of a coffee table, it's a compact, stylish device with a power cord. Its function isn't immediately obvious from the picture. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a modern lifestyle projector. Unlike the bulky projectors found in offices or schools, these are designed for home use with an emphasis on aesthetics and convenience. Many use a durable LED light source and DLP, or digital light processing, chip technology to create a bright, clear image from a very small package. This allows them to be portable, with many models including built-in speakers and smart TV operating systems. Their design is meant to blend into home decor, offering a large-screen viewing experience without the permanence of a large television. A user posted this picture asking what could have left this print in the ground. It has an irregular shape, without the clear outline of a paw or a boot. Does anyone know what it is? This is less likely a print and more likely evidence of digging or extraction. A typical track is formed by downward pressure, compressing the soil. This mark, however, shows signs of soil being churned and pulled upwards from a central point. This is often caused by an animal, such as a skunk, armadillo, or raccoon, digging for grubs or insects just beneath the surface. Another common cause is a person pulling up a plant with a deep taproot, like a dandelion or a thistle, which disturbs the soil in a similar way. I was about to cook this head of broccoli, but noticed these brown, discolored spots on the florets. The stalk itself is still firm and it doesn't have a bad smell, but the color is unappetizing. Does anyone know what this is and if it's safe to eat? What you're seeing are signs of oxidation, which occurs as the vegetable ages. Just like a cut apple turns brown, the cells in the broccoli are beginning to break down. As long as the brown spots are not mushy, slimy, or fuzzy, and the broccoli itself remains firm and smells fresh, it is safe to consume. You can simply use a knife to trim off the discolored areas. However, if the texture is soft, it feels slimy, or has a sour smell, the broccoli has spoiled and should be thrown away. I found this thing on my partner's desk while she was working from home. When you press the button, it shows a random number, but the number only changes if you wait for it to disappear before pressing it again. She called it a token and said she uses it to unlock her work program, but she believes its purpose is for her company to track her location, which makes no sense to me. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a one-time password, or OTP, security token. It is a critical tool for cybersecurity and has nothing to do with location tracking. It is a form of two-factor authentication. The token contains a secret cryptographic key and a highly accurate internal clock, which are synchronized with the company's server. When the button is pressed, an algorithm combines the secret key with the current time to generate a unique numerical password that is typically only valid for 30 to 60 seconds. Because an unauthorized user would need to possess both the primary password and this physical device, it makes her account significantly more secure against hacking. I found this in a junk drawer in my home. It's a small pin with a stick figure charm that has a small jewel in it. There are no markings of any kind, and an image search didn't provide any matches. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a family birthstone pin. These were popular collectible items, particularly for mothers and grandmothers, who would assemble them to represent their children and grandchildren. Each charm's jewel corresponds to a specific birth month. The system had a unique detail. The shape of the stone signified gender. Oval stones were used for males, and triangle-shaped stones were used for females. A collection of these charms on a pin would create a personalized representation of the owner's family tree. I noticed a rough black buildup on the vent grate in the back of my dryer. At first, I thought the metal itself was melting, but I can scrape it off with a knife and the steel underneath is undamaged. The material is very jagged, and it's starting to shred my clothes. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a common buildup of laundry chemicals and melted microplastics. This happens over time when synthetic fabrics, like polyester or nylon, are dried on high heat. Tiny plastic fibers melt and fuse with the residue from liquid fabric softeners and dryer sheets, creating a hard, abrasive surface on the metal grate. Because this composite material is so difficult to remove completely with solvents, the most common professional solution is to replace the grate entirely. I found this keychain, and it seems to have a function beyond the small light on the side. Inside the little window, there's a disc that spins a little when I shake it. It feels like some kind of tool. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a circulation pump rotation tester, a diagnostic tool used by plumbers and heating contractors. This specific model is branded by ARS Mechanical. The red and white disc inside is the key. It's designed to react to alternating current magnetic fields. When a technician holds this keychain against a circulation pump or a solenoid valve, the magnetic field from the energized motor causes the disc to spin. This instantly confirms that the pump is receiving power and shows the direction of its rotation, all without any direct electrical contact, making it a quick and safe diagnostic tool. I made this object in a grade school shop class, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it's for. It's a wooden block with a curved groove cut into it. Inside the groove, there's a marble that can roll up and down, but it won't fall out. Does anyone know what it is? This is a marble locking coat hook, a classic beginner's project in woodworking classes. Its function relies entirely on gravity and friction. The groove is an inclined channel that becomes narrower towards the top. To hang something, you slide the strap or loop of a coat upwards, pushing the marble into the narrow section. The weight of the coat then pulls down, wedging the marble tightly against the fabric and the wood, holding it in place. To release it, you simply lift the coat, which frees the marble to roll back down. I was replacing the screen on my iPhone 13 mini, and this part was taped to the back of the new screen. I have no idea what it is, and the phone works perfectly fine now that I've reassembled it without this piece. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is a replacement waterproof adhesive seal. When a phone is opened for repair, the original factory seal that protects against water and dust is broken. This new gasket is meant to replace it. It's a precisely cut adhesive strip that fits into the channel along the edge of the phone's frame. When the new screen is pressed on, it creates a tight barrier, restoring the phone's original IP68 water resistance rating. Many people skip this step during a DIY repair because it can be tricky to apply, which is why your phone still functions. However, without it, the device is no longer protected from dust or water. I keep seeing this logo and it's driving me crazy. It feels very familiar, like something from the 90s or early 2000s. I'm thinking it's related to computers, gaming, or maybe even a skate clothing brand. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as the Starfleet Command insignia from the Star Trek franchise. While it may look like a modern tech logo, its design is much older. It was created by costume designer William Ware Thies for the original Star Trek series, which first aired in 1966. The iconic arrowhead shape, officially called the Starfleet Delta, was designed to be a distinctive symbol for the organization. The user's association with the 90s and 2000s is very common, as the franchise saw a massive resurgence with shows like The Next Generation and Voyager during that period, making the logo a prominent part of pop culture. I found this while fossil and rock hunting with my kids in the prairie. It appears to be a bone, but it has two flat metal pieces attached to opposite sides. We have no idea what it is. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a taba, a game piece used in a traditional gambling game popular with the gauchos of Argentina. The piece is made from the astragalus bone of a cow, which is a specific type of knuckle bone. Metal plates are often fixed to two opposing sides to create distinct landing surfaces. The game is one of chance and skill, where players toss the taba, and bets are placed on which of the two flat sides it will land on. My coworker was wearing a shirt with this logo on it. At first glance, I thought it was a bull, but I wanted to be sure. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as the Golden Fleece, the official logo for the clothing company Brooks Brothers. While it might be mistaken for a bull, it is actually a sheep suspended in a ribbon. The company adopted this symbol in 1850. The image itself has a long history, dating back to the 15th century when European wool merchants used it as a symbol of fine woolen goods, referencing the golden-fleeced ram from Greek mythology. I found this mounted under a kitchen cabinet in a home built in 1981. It looks like it could be some sort of bottle opener, but the size seems wrong. Does anyone know what it is? This is an under-cabinet jar opener. These devices were very popular in kitchens from the 1960s through the 1980s. The design is simple but very effective. The V-shaped track contains sharp, serrated steel teeth. You wedge the jar lid into the V until the teeth grip the sides. Then, by twisting the body of the jar, you gain significant leverage that easily breaks the vacuum seal. While many different companies made them, an early patent for this type of opener was filed by Howard Zimmerman in 1948. My dad has been sitting on this since 2020, hoping it's some kind of alien spacecraft. I always thought it was just a drone, but I promised him I would ask for a second opinion. It appeared to flicker and drift silently in the sky. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a paper lantern, sometimes called a sky lantern. They operate on a simple principle: a small flame from a candle or wax fuel cell. At the base heats the air inside the thin paper shell. Because hot air is less dense than the cooler air outside, the lantern rises and floats, acting like a miniature hot air balloon. The flickering light is simply the live flame visible through the paper, and their silent, drifting movement is caused by them being carried on air currents, which is why they are frequently mistaken for something more mysterious. I found this gray mass on the top of my window frame in New England. It looks like a clump of dried dirt and is about 1 by 1 inch. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a wasp nest, specifically from a mud dauber wasp. Unlike social wasps that build large paper nests, mud daubers are solitary. A single female constructs these nests by gathering mud and forming it into tubes or cells. Inside each cell, she places a paralyzed spider that she has captured. She then lays a single egg on the spider and seals the cell. The wasp larva hatches, consumes the living but paralyzed spider as its first meal, and eventually emerges as an adult. They are generally not aggressive and are considered beneficial because they control spider populations. I was trying to attach a wire to a board, but the solder just clumped up and wouldn't stick properly. Then I saw a video where the person dips the wire into a thick, yellowish gel before soldering. The solder immediately flowed like water, creating a perfect connection. I had a similar gel in a college kit, but it never worked this well. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a soldering flux, It is a chemical cleaning and purifying agent essential for creating strong electronic connections. When metals like copper are heated, they rapidly react with oxygen to form an oxide layer. This invisible layer prevents molten solder from properly adhering to the surface, a process known as wetting. Flux solves this by removing the oxide layer when heated. As the soldering iron touches the joint, the flux activates, cleans the metal surfaces, and provides a protective barrier against reoxidation, allowing the solder to flow freely and form a solid, reliable bond. A user submitted this photo, asking for an identification. They were curious about this impressive insect with large, distinctive mandibles that resemble antlers. Does anyone know what it is? This is a male Sika stag beetle, native to Taiwan. Its common name comes from the Sika deer because the male's large mandibles look like antlers. These mandibles are not used for eating. Instead, they function as weapons, which the males use to wrestle and throw their rivals when competing for territory or mates. The adult beetles feed on tree sap, while their larvae develop inside rotting wood. A user in Manhattan spotted this bird perched on a 15th floor balcony across the street from their apartment, near Central Park. They noted this was the best photo they could get, making identification difficult from a distance. Does anyone know what it is? This is a male Cooper's hawk. While it might seem unusual to see a hawk in the middle of a dense city, these birds have adapted remarkably well to urban environments. Cities offer an abundant food supply, primarily pigeons and starlings. Cooper's hawks are incredibly agile flyers, using their short, powerful wings and long tail to navigate the tight spaces between buildings. A high balcony like this provides an excellent vantage point for an ambush predator, allowing it to spot prey from above before launching into a high-speed pursuit. I'm staying at an Airbnb and found this in the kitchen. At first glance, it looks like a standard glass measuring cup, but the measurement lines for cups and ounces are in very strange positions. Following these markings would ruin any recipe. Does anyone know what it is? This object is a gag gift known as a prank measuring cup. All of the measurement markings are intentionally printed incorrectly. The goal was to playfully sabotage anyone who tried to cook in your kitchen without permission, ensuring their cakes would fail and their sauces would be the wrong consistency. These were a popular novelty item in the early 2000s, sold in gift shops as a humorous tool for the territorial cook. While not common today, they serve as a fun example of kitchen-themed practical jokes. I found this strange contraption in a hospital bathroom. It looks like a tiny urinal, but it's far too small for that. It's a simple porcelain fixture mounted on the wall. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a visible cistern overflow. It's a safety feature for a concealed toilet cistern, which is the tank that holds the flushing water, hidden behind the wall panel. If the cistern's internal fill valve were to fail and constantly let water in, this pipe prevents a flood. Instead of water backing up inside the wall, the excess is safely discharged through this visible outlet. The reason it's exposed is to act as a clear maintenance alert. If staff see water trickling from it, they know the hidden cistern needs repair. Modern systems now route this overflow directly into the toilet bowl, making this external design much less common. I saw this very strange statue while cycling across Belgium near Oostende. I couldn't find anything about it on the internet, and there was no plaque or any information nearby to say what it was. Does anyone know what it is? This object is known as a sculpture called The Last Hatted Autocrat. It was created by artist David James Brown in 1998. The piece is strategically placed on top of a German bunker from World War II. This bunker was part of the Atlantic Wall, a massive system of coastal defenses. The artwork creates a direct contrast between the modern sculpture and the historical military structure it sits on. Which of these items surprised you the most? Or maybe you have one of them in your own garage? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed learning something new today, please hit like and subscribe to support the channel. Thanks for watching.